My name is Sarah Sullivan. I'm the co-founder of Rising Youth Theater.
My name is Xanthia Walker, and I am the co-artistic director of Rising Youth Theater.
My name is Ashley Hare, and I am the Arts Education Director for the City of Phoenix Office of Arts and Culture. I am also the Managing Director of Rising Youth Theater.
The theater company that I co-founded creates socially relevant original plays with young people. We put young people's stories at the center of an artistic process, and we partner young people and adult artists and community organizations to make plays that are relevant to young people and that put young people's stories at the center of conversations.
My favorite thing about Rising Youth Theater is that we create these original stories, and the young people that come to us are so incredibly dynamic. Some of them are in poverty, some of them are worrying about, food insecurities and hunger, and some of them come from very affluent families. And mixing all of those young people together from different backgrounds has been really wonderful to look at as we create stories together about what it means to be a young person.
And we didn't want it to be that only young people perform that work. We wanted to have young people partnering with adult artists because I think that's the way of respecting young people's ideas and opinions and expertise.
All of our work places young people at the center of the conversation. They work with adult artists, they work with professionals, but those professionals are peers and co-collaborators. Something I think is incredibly powerful every time is when we have performances and when we see young people standing on stage and sharing their stories and advocating for themselves in front of a group of strangers, and then having people ask them questions that positions them as experts in their own lives in a lot of ways, and it makes them advocates for both themselves and their community.
That looks a lot of different ways depending on what the project is. A lot of our work isn't as effective inside of an actual theater. So to go through this really intense community process that's really out and present in the world and then try to box it onto a proscenium stage was feeling really weird and disconnected. So we stopped performing in theaters at all this season, and we performed in an alley. And then right now we are rehearsing for our light rail plays, which performs on public transit, so actually on the light rail and on train platforms. And then in the spring, we plan to build a performance that takes place in a public park and is based on stories of young people and their living spaces.
We are now in our 5th year of creating programming as Rising Youth Theater, and I think we are definitely not going anywhere. We are, at this point, continuing to root ourselves in the Phoenix community, develop relationships and partnerships, and I think that we will continue to grow and invest in the place where we live and continuing to do this work.
My name is Tomas Stanton. I am the co-founder and executive director of phoneticsbid. Born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. About middle school, things got a little rough for me. The neighborhood that I grew up in, started getting involved in gang violence, and then high school, I dropped out. So I did that for about 4 years until 18, 19 when I had to figure something out. And so got my GED. Eventually I got a job working at a community center that I attended when I was a kid, and really found a passion for working with youth. I just knew that there was more that I wanted to do than just work at this community center. So I started kind of going back to school and trying to find a program that really spoke to what I wanted to do, which is when I kind of fell into spoken word poetry. And I met my good friend and co-founder of phoneticsbid, Merlin Hepworth, and we decided to just kind of do our own thing. phoneticsbid is an organization that is dedicated to creating brave spaces for young and emerging adults to be able to find, develop, and publicly present their voice through the medium of spoken word poetry in an effort for them to become agents of societal change. So we're really focused in the literary arts, in youth development, as well as social justice programming. We live in a society now where you can't just be good at one thing. Like, you have to wear multiple hats. It's a skill-based society, and you have to have multiple skills. And the arts is such a beautiful place to develop those skills. And so I do think it's important that we know that we need organizations such as ourselves who are coming to reach these students at their level, where they are, and not saying, here, this is what you need to do. It's saying, what can we do together? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to read? What do you want to listen to? That's very important. There's also these opportunities where we have students who come into our program not necessarily knowing what to expect, being very shy and timid, and then after years of committing to that program throughout their high school experience, decided that they wanted to apply to a college that offered a full ride scholarship for hip hop theater, and they got it. I see these changes every day in the classroom, in the lives of these students. We need more students like myself to be in institutions, given the opportunity to expand and to grow and to develop their own program. I feel like I fail more than I achieve in life, but I hope that I'm remembered as an individual who genuinely tried his hardest to figure out the right thing to do.
My name is Marcelinoquinones. I'm a teaching artist and also a teaching instructor at Arizona School for the Arts. I was born in Durango, Mexico. When I was 5 years old, we immigrated to this country. I grew up in the States. 2002, I attended Arizona State University, became the first person in my entire family to graduate college. Soon after, I became a high school English teacher and an actor around the valley. I wanted to go to art school because I wanted to find a way to express myself. I wanted to find a way to explore my history and be able to write that story as a way to help others. My education allowed me to understand how the arts work and what their purpose is. It's because of my education that I've been able to then impart those skills and talents onto others. I'm currently a teaching artist in the Valley. I created a program based off of Sandra Cisneros' house on Mango Street, where I go to different schools and I help students write their own stories in response to the vignettes that Sandra Cisneros wrote. The young people that I work with see the arts as a valuable tool and asset in their lives. For the first time, they are beginning to understand that if there is a qualm, if there is a joy, if there is a concern that they are having as young people, through writing, through expression, through their voices, they're able to put those feelings out into the world. And so the young people that I work with absolutely understand that. And as an acting instructor, I've been impacted through the arts by what another student of mine is doing. This young man named Cesar had never done the arts, and so he showed up to this acting class because he wanted to be a model, but he has to take the acting class. And so we were doing fairy tales, and I had Cesar do the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. And Cesar shows up scared, timid, but by the end we started working on his physicality and we started to find a voice for that wolf. And his first entrance, he entered as the wolf, and he pretended to knock but also used the wall behind him, and it was just surreal. That's happened many times over, where a student reveals his or herself through the arts, through writing. I was pleasantly surprised, but again, confirmed again my feelings of what the arts can do for any individual. I've been able to do a number of things in my life. I've been very fortunate, but the proudest thing that I am of is the time that I spent in the classroom, the time that I continue to spend in the classroom. And that's because in some way I'm helping young people understand their vulnerabilities, their creativity, but also their power. I'm proud of teaching and working with the arts.
My name is Samwell Pena. I am a music educator, graduate student at Arizona State University, beat producer, and a Brazilian percussionist. I was born in Guadalajara, Mexico, and raised here in the States. My father would want me to play music with him, but I wasn't interested in rock and roll. I was always interested in hip hop. So my mom said you should join the band. I went to the band, I tried to play the clarinet, but that wasn't where my musical interests were. It didn't resonate with me the same way that what I was hearing and making mixtapes off of the radio. So I felt like music school wasn't for me, music classes weren't for me. I got my bachelor's in communication, and the reason why is because I wanted to understand how I'm situated in the greater world. So I focused a lot on stereotypes, on social justice, on understanding like how to respect other people, celebrating similarities, celebrating differences amongst one another. As I started getting older and trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, there was nothing I was more passionate about than music. So I went to a class at ASU to learn how to house dance, because as I see music as a language, I see dance as another expression of that same language. So for me, music is about social connections. During that process, I also found out a way to go back to school and get, for the first time in my life, go into a music school. And I'm now going to graduate with a Master's in Music Ed in May. For me, the part of the conversation that I want to add to is to say, it's okay if you started late. It's okay if you're interested in something a little bit different. How can you then add your voice to what we're creating? So that's why music education over a performance major is, because I'm more interested in that process of allowing people the space to input their voice into the community of art. At the same time, while I'm doing that, I've started teaching Afro-Cuban and Afro-Brazilian rhythms to elementary students. I'm also teaching beat labs. I go to the Musical Instrument Museum and around town and teach electronic music production using iPads. I never thought that I would be a music educator. I never thought of myself as a musician, even though I played music and made music and recorded music every day. My life is different now because all of my interest in social justice, all of my interest in people's personal growth and helping support that is all coming together, and the arts and music is my favorite way of expressing respect for myself and expressing respect for others. And so my life is different now because all the things that I believed in and have been working on are now coming together with music.